Academica Media. From Academica Media Studios in Miami, Florida, it's Big Ideas in Education, a weekly recap of inspiration and innovation in your schools.
Hello, education lovers. We are thrilled to have you here joining us on this week's installment of Big Ideas in Education. This is going to be a blast. I'm Ryan Kairalla from Doral College, joined by Dr. Sarah Boulos from Somerset Academy Schools. Hi, Sarah. How are you
Hi,
today?
Ryan. Hi, I'm doing well. Hi, everyone.
Oh, this is going to be a blast. I love the stories that we're covering this week. I think we're going to get a kick out of both of them. Sarah, go ahead and get us started if you could.
Absolutely. We all know that parent involvement can have a huge impact on student performance, not only because we see it every day as educators, but also because the research bears it out well. Research compiled by responsiveclassroom.org shows that parental support is more important to school success than a student's IQ or socioeconomic status, and is crucial to healthy development. Parent engagement in their child's school improves student achievement, reduces absenteeism, affirms parents' confidence in education, and reflectively improves teacher morale. But what happens to families who cannot attend these functions during school hours because they have this pesky little thing called a job? Well, Representatives Donna Bullock and Elizabeth Fiedler are proposing the Parental Involvement Leave Act in the state of Pennsylvania to support families in just that situation. Their bill would require employers to give eligible parents 8 hours of unpaid leave a year to attend school-related activities. And parents of a child with a disability or those with an individualized education plan, an IEP, would be allowed an additional 4 hours of leave. In their memo to colleagues, Bullock and Fiedler cited how much influence parental involvement has on their students. Students with engaged parents or other caregivers earn higher grades and test scores, have better social skills, and show improved behavior, the two lawmakers wrote. The connection can make a huge difference at all age levels, and the more intensely involved parents are, the greater the positive impact. I'm super excited about this proposal. I hope it goes through, and I hope that we see similar initiatives taking place across the country. I'm a big fan of anything that supports families being more available to their children and connecting with their school community even more.
What a novel idea. I think that's really cool. And I think you blew me away right from the beginning with that story, because I've heard for a long time about the role that parent involvement can play in making schools better and improving student experience. We tell parents all the time how important parent involvement is. Like,
Absolutely.
I grew up in a house where my parents were super involved with my education. My mom actually ran the Parent Resource Center for Miami-Dade County for a long time to provide this kind of infrastructure for parents to be more involved on their campus. But until you just gave me that story, I didn't have any quantitative data to support the notion of how important parent involvement is. And that study that you said in the beginning, that was mind-blowing to me. The idea that it's more important than even students' IQ in the success of students in schools. And when you're talking about that kind of positive impact, why not have a leave policy, 8 hours a year or whatever that legislation was saying, to make it so that parents can be involved with these activities? What a cool idea.
Absolutely. I mean, 8 hours is not, in my opinion, it's not the best, right? But it's better than nothing. I mean, it'd be great if we could get 20 hours or something, because the unfortunate truth is that most of our families, they have jobs that take place during school hours, right? Most of us have jobs that take place during school hours. And the real hindrance is our own employer, right? We can't necessarily, it depends on the flexibility of our employer. We have no control over whether or not we have the time to get to our kids in school. So it's really exciting to see that these kinds of initiatives are going to encourage that kind of participation. I'd be curious to dig a little deeper in the research that's cited, and of course we'll have the links in the description box, to see if there was a number of hours that specifically were the tip point for those data points to be significant, right? Because I'm wondering where that 8 hours came from.
I'm hoping that that 8 hours is some kind of magic number where we start to see the positive impacts, because then absolutely we want to give that 8 hour availability. And as you said, 8 hours It doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. It would allow a parent to chaperone 1 to 2 field trips a year that they otherwise wouldn't be able to chaperone. I'm guessing it means like
Maybe. I mean,
2
it
or 3
depends.
school assemblies. Yeah, depending on how long the field trip is, I suppose. At
Yeah,
least
because if
one
you
field
think
trip.
about it, right? If you think about 8 hours, it might be one day, right?
Yeah.
Or you could split that up maybe an hour. That's not even an hour a month though in the school year. So that's why I was wondering where that 8 hours came from. And when we talk about students with special needs, a student with disabilities, for example, having that additional 4 hours, that's so critical because I can tell you as an educator who's worked with, special education students before, just the presence of a parent at an IEP meeting is difficult to get because of the fact that parents are working. And sometimes, that's a several hours a year right there just with IEP meetings. So it's really critical to make sure that we have these opportunities to get these families involved in schools.
I love the idea of a government, whether it's state or local or whatever, putting their money where their mouth is when they say something like, you need to be involved in your child's education. Parent involvement is critical to student success. We all say it and we all believe it, but policy needs to step in and make it actionable for a lot of parents who
Correct.
otherwise would never be able to attend a lot of things that happen for their kid in the middle of the day because they have to work. This is an exciting policy to me. I really want us to follow this and see where it goes.
Yeah, it's definitely a start. It's still unpaid leave. So who knows if, the families who depend on this are going to be able to do that because they probably need to be working.
I missed that. So it's like FMLA leave. It's
kind of exactly.
Yeah.
It's a start. Like I said, it's a start. And I think it's a good first step. Let's see where we can take it.
All right, I just checked the measurements. I'm 43% less excited about this, but still pretty excited about this.
That
it is a positive
significant.
It's very low p-value there.
Yeah.
All right. I gotta, so we started out in Pennsylvania and now we're moving right into Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Geographically, I don't have the correlation map.
Just one pretty wild place to another.
Okay.
On Twitter earlier this month, Edutopia asked a simple but powerful question to the teachers viewing its feed. What's something that you do that makes your school day easier? The responses that came from their 1.2 million followers in education were quite powerful. Several teachers in the replies spoke about the importance of preparing ahead of time to make their day easier. One stressed that it was vital for her to make sure that she was ready for the next day before heading home. Another teacher, echoing similar sentiment, said it was important to, quote, have everything ready the night before. Lessons all set, labs prepped, papers graded as much as possible, emails answered, etc. You never know what crazy the day is going to bring, so I have to be totally ready to put out whatever fires may arise, end quote. Other teachers spoke about saving time by using tech tools to automate assignments or creating bell ringer assignments that students can start each day with without needing the teacher's direct involvement. Other teachers in the replies talked about the self-care practices that they use. Advice in this area included going easy on yourself, eating a healthy breakfast each day, finding quiet time to decompress each school day, listening to positive music or podcasts on the way to work, and investing time to create deeper relationships with your students and colleagues. And when in doubt, more than a few teachers on the thread talked about the valuable role that coffee plays in making your day easier.
I was thinking that.
This was a pretty delightful thread to me. And there was a lot of, the coffee was certainly hilarious advice, but a lot of really powerful, actionable advice in there. I don't know if you can call upon your background in teaching here, Sarah. Is there anything you would do to make your school day easier?
Well, there are a few things that I kind of do as policy for myself. But when you mentioned the coffee, I had to laugh because I can very vividly remember teaching high school and, the classes later in the day, they just seem so much harder than the classes earlier in the day. And I'm going to really badly quote one of my favorite movies, but The Departed, he's talking about it's a blood sugar issue. It's the end of the day. It's not rocket science, right? It's the end of the day. So I had a particular...
That's our first Departed quote here on Big Ideas in Education.
Spoiler alert. It is one of my favorite movies. I don't know what that says about me. I don't watch it with students. Don't judge me too harshly. It is not a kid-friendly movie. It's not a teacher-friendly movie, but it's my favorite. I don't know what to say. But I just remember having, like, you remember they're still probably pretty popular, but these glass Frappuccino bottles, right? They would have
Yeah.
these Frappuccino bottles that you could get in multi-packs at the store. And I had my lunchbox and my cooler. I still have it. It's actually, I have my lunchbox right here. And I would just make sure to save it for right before that last class of the day. And it just, that little bump in my energy was infectious to the students, right? So we're all tired. We're all getting to that like 2 o'clock hump that we all naturally get to in the day. And that actually was a huge thing that made my days easier. I know it sounds silly, but it really was. But now I say, I think it's good advice that for then, Sarah, and for now, Sarah, because I think a big rule I have for myself is to be present with who is in front of you. And what that means for me, as far as making the day easier, as a classroom teacher, that meant you can't get upset if I don't answer an email right away because I'm present with the students that are in front of me. Or if I'm in a meeting with a parent, that's the most important person. And I'm kind of poorly quoting another really something that's really valuable to me. It's I think it's an actual like Russian folktale, but it's like, who is the most important person? It's the person in front of you. And what is the most important thing? It is the thing you are doing right now. So I take that advice very seriously. And if I'm in front of students, they have 100% of my attention and my heart and my focus. And whatever we're doing is the most important thing that's happening right now. Of course, emergencies come up and things like that. But I try to communicate that to my students too, that I have a whole world happening outside of this classroom. But once we come in, you come in that door, you are the world right now. And we share that. And we talk about how important it is to just be present for each other. And in a world of distractions, that has made a huge difference in my ability to really connect with my students or the teachers that I'm working with or the principals that I'm working with. And so I that is something I do that I take very much to heart, is whoever is in front of me is the most important person. And that's what I'm going to be doing and working with.
And I think that act of being present in the teaching profession, whether it's present with a student, present with a colleague, there's something restorative about that. I think so much about teaching can be stressful, it can be draining, it can be difficult. But for me, I find that when I'm one-on-one with a student and we're talking about something that's important to them, or I'm helping them, or they're helping me, that's the stuff that's the good stuff. That's
right.
the stuff
That's where the magic happens.
That's where the magic happens. And it's so easy, and the temptation is so strong for us to not be present in that magic moment because we're thinking about the 14,000 other things that we have on our to-do list as instructors. And if we miss that moment, then all of that other stuff is going to have a much easier time kind of overtaking our happiness and our well-being. And I can't help but think of the relationship between the advice you're giving there, Sarah, and the advice that we got from a few of these teachers on this Twitter thread about planning. Because for me, one of the things that has helped me be present when I'm talking to students, no matter how stressful the outside world is the more that I can have things planned, the more that I can have things under control, the more that I know that like the things on my to-do list are at least set aside and I know when I'm going to do them, the easier it is for me to be one-on-one with that student, to be present in that moment, for them to be the most important person, because I don't have to think about everything else because I know it is filed away somewhere and it'll be there when I'm ready for it, but I don't have to think about it in that moment. And so, yeah, planning is so important.
It is so important. And I think if we take an opportunity excuse me, if we take an opportunity to connect with our students, with our colleagues, whoever we're working with, and we ask, hey, let's do a quick check-in. Is there something you need to write down or get off your mind, or just do you need to center something so that we can be present with each other? And let's get that out of the way right away. And kids especially are kind of blown away by that kind of conversation. I know I've had conversations with my students when I've said, listen, I have a family member who's in the hospital right now, and I'm trying to be present with you, but it's weighing on me. So if you see me walk to my desk and you see me check my phone, you know that's why. I will not be ignoring you for no reason, right? And so connecting with each other on a human level and making sure that relationship that we have is sacred, and saying, I'm respecting you and I need you to know this thing about me. Can I take 1 minute and just let me write down a couple of things so I don't forget to put them on my to-do list later, and then I can give you 100% of my attention. I think that that's really important.
And I think there's a fear, right? If you're doing that, you might be fearful that you're signaling to that person that they don't matter as much as they should because, oh, you're thinking or talking about something else. When in reality, what clearer message is there that they matter to you more than anything, because you're telling them how much you prioritize getting that thing out of your mind so that you can be fully in the moment with that other person. I love that.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's just my, that's how I work.
That's great stuff. I would love to hear our viewers and listeners' perspective on the thing that they do to make their school day easier, or as you were talking about, Sarah, how to be more present with your fellow students and colleagues. I think that's awesome. And also to hear your perspective on the latest parental leave legislation coming out of Pennsylvania. Whatever's on your mind, tweet at us at Academica Media with the hashtag #BigIdeasInEducation so we can get your valuable perspective. Sarah, this has been a treat. Cool stories this week.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
The views expressed on the preceding program have been those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Academica, its clients, staff, affiliates, or advertisers.